Hey homemakers, it's Jack here, bakewithjack.co.uk, bringing you your weekly bread making tip every single Thursday. And this week, after the last few videos, you might well be thinking, hey man, why is my dough still sticky at the end of kneading? Why doesn't it look like Jack's nice smooth dough at the end? Well, I'm going to answer that question in this week's bread tip. Hello there and welcome to bread tip number 88 in an ongoing series of bread making tips to help you bake amazing bread at home. And if you haven't pressed that subscribe button yet and this video helps you out, have a think about clicking on it because it probably helps me more than what you think. Let's get on with it. So you might be making bread at home and at the end of the kneading process, you might still find that your dough's still a little bit sticky, bumpy, shaggy, a little bit of a mess. And sometimes this happens on my bread making courses, right? Sometimes it's all a little bit sticky and messy still, and then what normally happens is that I bowl over, pop over to the table, give it about 7 seconds work, and it's a nice smooth round ball, which I can appreciate can be a little bit irritating. But it's not because the dough is not ready that it looks like that, it's just more often than not the way that it's handled. And I'm going to cut to the table in a minute to show you what I'm talking about, and then after I'll tell you another couple of possibilities that it might be. Let's get to it. Okay, here we are. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to go with a 20% wholemeal recipe, not dissimilar actually to the cob loaf recipe on my website. So 200 grams, I've doubled it up, 200 grams of brown flour, 800 grams of white flour. I've taken the salt down to 16 grams. That's something I've been doing recently, just cutting a little bit out of that salt. Water is in my jug with the yeast at 24 grams. I mix this up here with my scraper, and mix this up here with my scraper, pour it all in, and let's make some dough super quick so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I finished kneading, and yes, my dough is a nice smooth round ball, but this is down to the technique I'm using. I'll show you what I do, and then I'll show you the complete opposite to give you a bit of perspective of what I'm doing. Every time I'm kneading, I keep it upside down. This is the nice smooth top, and this is the sticky underneath, right? Keep it upside down. Always pushing into the dough, stretching it, and folding it the same way into the underside. And the nice smooth top is always the nice smooth top. That's the first thing I'm doing. Or also, subconsciously, I'm being light fingered, nimble fingered with it. I'm not being heavy handed. I'm not pushing it down into the table. I'm pushing it across the table, and that's really important. I'm not pushing it down into the table to glue it onto the surface. I'm pushing across. Now, I'm going to show you the complete opposite thing of what I was doing. So this time, be heavy-handed with it. I'm going to push it in all directions past its natural resistance point. And I'm going to be really slow with it too, right? And this is what can happen in an exaggerated sense. Now, nobody works dough like this. However, to exaggerate the point and show you what I'm talking about, this is what happens, yeah? Right, now it's a big sticky mess all over the table. It's a nightmare, but if you stay nimble fingered with it and just try and be confident with it, not too heavy handed, you can bring it all back together, one nice piece, couple of folds, and we're getting back to that nice ball again. Yes! Do you see what I mean? Our two doughs could look completely different. They might both be ready, they might both be kneaded for the same amount of time, but they can look completely different simply because of your technique is a little bit different to mine. That dough, incidentally, was 70% hydration. 70%, normally on the back of a flour packet is 60%. 70% can be quite sticky for some people, can be a bit too sticky and a bit too wet just because of your technique. But the more experienced you are, the more practice that you get, the more you're able to handle doughs like that, and then you can take it further. So to summarize, before I move on to a couple of other examples, the key words there are be nimble fingered, be light handed with it as opposed to heavy handed. Don't push into the table, push across the table, keep it light off the table and keep moving around so it doesn't glue itself down to the table. Use your scraper every once in a while to free it up from the table, and I don't think it's about speed. It's not about being fast. Don't stress yourself out thinking I've got to knead quickly. Just keep practicing and develop. I feel like you'll develop a natural feel for the dough and a natural way of stop it sticking to your fingers, stop it sticking to the table. It will all come together naturally into that ball over time and practice. Other possible reasons are the type of flour you're using. White flour is always different to the next white flour. Wholemeal flour brings another sticky element, and rye flour, like we've spoken about before, is super tacky. It turns your dough into glue. So bear that in mind as well. Your dough's always gonna look different. That, alongside the fact that the hydration rate might be different in your recipe, that's a big factor as well, but we touched on that earlier. So yes, your dough may look different to mine, and hopefully this has cleared up a little bit of why it might be the case. Chances are, in my experience of teaching people how to make bread for the last 6 years, 8 to 10 minutes kneading is normally enough. Just because it looks a little bit sticky still, it may well be until the end. But if you adjust your technique, hopefully that, combined with last week's video about when your dough is ready, you'll be able to figure it out. Don't just keep kneading forever. Just keep on going, expecting it all to come together into a nice ball, because it may or may not happen, depending on your technique. Thank you very much, as always, for spending a little piece of your Thursday hanging out with me here to learn something new about bread making. I hope it's helped you out, and if it has done, please click that thumbs button. I'd really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed already and you want to see me here next week, please click that subscribe button. It really helps me out like you probably wouldn't believe. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you next week for another bread making tip. See ya.